Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today I'm here with Jason Lavender. We're going to be talking about becoming a magnet in your market. How do you become a market leader that creates opportunities for you to not only leave a big impact, but to joint venture and find ways to work together with other people in your market. So Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So looking forward to diving into this. This is something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I've always been the community builder type guy, right? And so even way before I was even in real estate, actually. So and then we're going to talk about a lot of stuff here that I've either done or I'm fascinated with, and so looking forward to jumping into that. So I know you're based in Wichita, Kansas. Do probably 80 to 100 deals a year. Have a rental portfolio, all that stuff. So tell us a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about yourself other than that, I guess.
Yeah. So, born and raised here, like you said, here in Wichita, Kansas. It's my investing market. I chase shiny objects, but I haven't chased any other markets. Thankfully, that'd probably drive me nuts. But, before I got into real estate in 2017, I was a painter. That was my gig. I had a painting company. I loved what I did, but I saw the writing on the wall. It wasn't going to last long. There's not a lot of old painters. So I just started researching, and I've always loved fixing up things. And so I jumped in 2017 and started fixing and flipping houses. And from there, grew a fix and flip business and a wholesaling business. I love the hands-on aspect of most every part of real estate. And like you said, I've really enjoyed building community. I mean, I've learned a lot from, people like you watching from afar, but just the value of growing a community, being a go-giver, and the reciprocity that comes from, really being the magnet in my market.
Yeah, I love it. So let's talk a little bit about just what that's meant for you, kind of business-wise, and why you want to do that. I mean, it's got to be a win-win situation, right? Like a lot of us want to give, we want to share, but at some level, it has to make business sense too, right? And it creates opportunities. If you do the right thing, opportunities kind of proverbially fall in your lap, right? But it's because you created the atmosphere for that to happen, right? So tell us a little bit more about just the power of focusing on your network.
Yeah, I love what you said there. Yeah, stuff doesn't, sometimes people think things fall in your lap, but it's a very calculated process that I've adopted, and the groups that I've built, the connections that I continue to make, and much like you, I mean, you see the value in that. And it's just nothing's accidental. It's very intentional. So yeah, building community, it's something that when you jump into real estate, most people say, hey, find a good RIA, get a good local event, go find a RIA. Well, I didn't have one. There wasn't one. I mean, I think there was one, but it was terrible. So I knew the power of networking and building a community would be something I wanted to double down on. So I did. So I started a Facebook group, started very small. I mean, I really fumbled forward mostly, but providing a very high quality, very valued, sought after Facebook group here locally in Wichita has been, best decision I've probably made. From that, we've grown local meetups. I've grown and established, local mentor group, which is really, several things in mind. There's, helping people get established in, get their foot in the door in investing, and offering collaboration and partnerships, through that. In-person meetups have been really good. Putting butts in seats, and, again, a lot of people, that you don't know what you don't know. And so if you can offer, sometimes our events are free and sometimes they're always low cost. You can eliminate that, that barrier to entry where people might otherwise be very skeptical about, and, they walk away and they're fans, and, they're interested in real estate, and we double down on that with follow-up and, continued engagement. And, many of those turn into partnerships that, that I'm doing to this very day.
Yeah. Yeah, same for me. I've got a lot of people that I've worked with over the years that's just created business opportunities and lifelong friendships with people. And
Mhm.
we have passed. In fact, I had somebody on my podcast a little while back that right before I, most of the people that are on on my show, we've got a couple shows now, but the ones that I host are people that I either know really well or I know of, and I want to get to know better, right? For the most part. And a couple people kind of snuck on there. I was like, I don't know who this is, which is fine. And I was like, have we met before? And she was like, yeah, I went to one of your events like 5 years ago, and she was a principal at a high school, and she like left that job and got into real estate, and now she does that full time. And she's like, basically, you were the catalyst for a lot of this, right? She didn't even join my program. She just came to an event and then did it on her own. But it was so cool to kind of hear that of just, just like you being a go-giver, like you're planting seeds out there and you don't know what's going to grow, but whenever something does, it's really cool to kind of see that come back around.
Yeah, no, I love that. I got a message before we jumped on this call today. Somebody that I was like, hey, I'm interested in this package of properties that you're selling. The numbers look pretty good. And he's like, yeah, actually, you wholesaled me half of these. It's like, oh, I thought your name sounded familiar. Yeah, let's talk.
That's funny.
Stuff
Yeah.
comes full circle.
So, what we're going to do today is jump into some of the different platforms you use to kind of become a magnet in your market, some of the things you do to kind of become a leader. So, let's dive into like meetup groups. So, you've got a group, or do you have just one group there, or is it multiple groups? Or
Man, I don't Facebook groups. I probably have about six or seven.
well, let's talk about the meetup. Like you have an in person kind of RIA club style
Yeah,
meetup group that you host. Yeah,
yeah. So we do networking is huge, and so I preach that all the time. And so we do a really laid back networking lunch. We also have a pints and properties, for after hours. But I started that about 5 years ago, simply just to have networking, connect contractors with lenders to, title companies to investors, landlords, flippers, wholesale. I just put them all in a group. I rent out a space. We throw them all in a lunch. I pay for the lunch, and that's it. It's free. We've been doing that 5 years, and simply doing that has domino affected so many. I mean, I've picked up contractors, I've picked up lenders, I've picked up tons of private money lenders from that. And I make friends, and then I had this idea, like I need to monetize this. Let's bring on some sponsors, some people that see the value of what I created, and we've got a list a mile long of people that want to continue to be sponsors, and um, so yeah, just a monthly lunch networking meetup has paid off in spades, and then from there you know we've got some one-off events. We've got a monthly pints and properties. We meet at a pub. Again, just the value of networking cannot be overstated.
yeah. It's interesting because we're at this space where there's you might have heard this phrase before. I hear it sometimes. There's a trust recession. Like nobody trusts anybody because it's just been a weird time, polarizing world, and like everything we've been through like since COVID, really. So there's this like trust recession where everybody is like Facebook friends, but nobody really knows anybody, right? That's how it feels. And so in social media land, like we're all just like a click away, but nobody really knows who anybody is. And so I think when you're doing events like that and you start to build relationships, like that's how you build trust. As people just they see you, they see you're genuine, they see you're trying to add value, and then ultimately you stand out from everybody else because you're a real person doing real things and really there to help people.
hmm I totally agree. Yeah, I mean you know, meetups and actually talking with people and going and having coffee. I don't know if it's a lost art or a dying thing, but I'm old school. I love it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and as far as my business, and I've got this kind of ecosystem that I've just kind of built. Again, I think of it in terms of I want to be a magnet in my market, and so what different things am I doing to establish credibility, authentically and genuinely help people. I mean, I talk to people all the time. We create within our Facebook group. We've got so many different initiatives where, people are being helped. I mean, there's newbies come in all the time, and like, I can't sit there on the phone with everybody. That's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I can refer them to, and they, find our Facebook group, and there's just tons of value. And if people see what the value that you're giving for free on a Facebook group, they want to know like what's behind the curtain, and so we've got a few curtains that we can help people with too.
Yeah. And also talk a little bit about I know we're gonna talk about Facebook groups here a little bit more, but talk about just the power in kind of bouncing people around. Like they might join in your Facebook group, and next thing you know, there's a local live meeting, and like it creates a lot of opportunities for people to get exposure to different things you have going on and meet other friends and stuff like that. Maybe talk about this like the power in kind of bouncing people around to different things you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Uh, yeah, when we talk to people, sometimes they'll say, "Hey, I went to that one thing you did, a year ago, and then I went to the other thing, and I'm finally wanted to come up and introduce myself." I was like, "Hey, I'm so glad you did. You should have came a year ago. I would have loved to talk to you." But yeah, again, just the value of building a community. I mean, at the end of the day, Mike, you know, we're humans. We crave community.
Yeah.
We so much. Oftentimes, we uh, lead or tend to go in the isolation, but we really crave community, and so that's what I knew that there's human nature there, and building authentic community and in-person meetups, being a place where you can, set eyes, shake hands, be, be in front and be with one another. And it's super, I mean, geez, Mike, I've heard so many stories about every meetup I've ever done. I hear stories later about the connection that was made, the contractor that was hired, the partnership that was struck. People have gotten married from meeting at our meetups. I mean,
Wow.
it's like matchmaking or something. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
you create a community, you create an event or a series of events that people want to go to, and amazing, cool, awesome things happen. And I'm here as a business owner. I want cool, awesome things to happen that obviously help people, but help add to the bottom line. But I mean, I've heard those stories over and over and over again, and uh, I've got meetups coming this month, and I'll hear the same stories the next day.
Yeah.
You could set your bank on it.
Yeah. Any tips? So unless you do events, you don't realize how hard events are. So we do events, so I I know that, and you know that. But maybe any tips for how to simplify that? Because I know people that have tried it before. They're like, yeah, I'm going to start doing a monthly event, and they usually do two or three, and then they're gone, or maybe one sometimes, because they realize like, man, this is like a job. There's ways to simplify it, especially if you do it over and over again. But any kind of tips there?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, far more than I do. Events are crazy and it can get super expensive. When you're doing a small meetup like a networking or a Pine Some Properties or something like that, or a RIA, you're starting a RIA. My encouragement would be find sponsors. Get with local trusted people in your community that would see the value of the party that you're throwing, the group that you're putting together, and have them foot the bill. So that was something I didn't do initially, and since then, we've got our preferred partners. They've got a voice and they're a moderator in our Facebook groups. They pay a monthly fee to be a part of it. I give them a few minutes at every one of our lunches and meetups to share how they can actually help investors, and with the mindset of being this go giver. This idea that this is not, hey, so why don't you stand up for 3 minutes and tell everybody how great you are? Why don't you instead stand up for 3 minutes and tell how you can actually help investors? Because, while you think maybe, setting your website 10 times is going to be the best fit for your business, actually the best thing for your business is really solve some problems. And so, but yeah, just, bring in sponsors for these events, make it simple. You don't need to overcomplicate it. People are, in my market, people are gravitating, mostly towards Facebook, but find a social media platform that your audience is going to be at, and just build a community around it. And the rest, I don't know, you fumble forward.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of not overthinking things, and so when new opportunities or problems arise, we figure it out.
Yeah. So maybe you can share a little bit more about Facebook groups. Like obviously, everybody listening to this is probably in some Facebook groups, right? But we all know that they tend to be kind of like, for the most part, a lot of them are like the public restroom, right? They're like, yeah, it's a good idea, but these things are gross, just full of junk and clutter. And I have some groups, I've run some groups, but I, it's a lot of work to kind of keep those things up and keep them kind of pure, keep the spam out. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, but just talk about, I guess, maybe the power of those Facebook groups I think the other thing that's interesting that I'd love to talk about is the local Facebook group, right? I mean, a lot of the groups out there, people just try to like you know, everybody all over the world's kind of joining these things sometimes, and they get huge, and then they're very impersonal, and then it's like, what's the point? But maybe talk about like, the power of kind of a local curated group, and then also like maybe any tips you have on how to keep it good.
Yeah, so I can speak, to the local group, the national groups, like you mentioned, I think they get diluted and spammed out. So I tried that and it failed miserably. But as far as the local groups, um, bring in partners, bring in, I have trusted friends of mine that help me manage this group. I'm not the only one sitting there trying to filter through all this, spam and, stuff like that. So we run a very high level, high active engagement. I mean, I monitor the statistics, Facebook gives you all kinds of analytics, find out how many posts you're getting a month. I set goals for our growing our group. I mean, it's not just growing our numbers because to be honest, we're a local South Central Kansas group. We get people trying to join all the time, and we decline about half of them, because they're out of state, they're somewhere out, they're whatever out of the country, they have no business being in our group. But so being very proactive on high quality people coming into our group, the
Yeah.
engagement, I've just borrowed tips from other people. Like we've got questions that we post every day. I want likes and comments. I want people to come to our community to hang out. And that's what it is. I mean, people come to our community to hang out. I mean, they happen to have a common thread of real estate, but it is, where people want to come and hang out. I've asked other people. I mean, we've got tons of different admins and moderators. The having the easy lift on that is spreading the job around. It's not just
Right.
me trying to monitor all this, because I think that's where groups get diluted and turn into absolute garbage. I mean, most groups are that way.
Yeah.
And then some of the other things that we've done, uh, you know, I'm trying to again just be a magnet in my market. I want to provide great value. We've started a investor advisory panel. I've just invited 10 of my friends that kind of hit different niches of as far as like commercial and short-term, medium-term rentals, market analysis. I've got a tax guy, finance and wealth guy. They contribute articles every week to our group, and so literally we're just trying to create what people are craving and wanting, and be the place that people stop and check in at, and you know it's always a work in progress, but that's how we approach it, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I think, people get hung up on social media with the vanity side of it. Like I have so many people in my group or I got so many likes or whatever. But it's like, yeah, if they're all like overseas folks or people that aren't even in your market, like
Mhm.
it doesn't mean it's never going to add value to you, and it's only going to get harder to manage, the spam and the other crap that's there too. So what you do is because I've got this myself is like people can't just join the group. They have to apply to join the group, right? And they have to answer a few questions, and you kind of filter them out that way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they've got to answer some questions. They've got to provide an email, and that was something I didn't do early on, was start curating email lists and the power of what that is.
Yeah.
We fixed that a couple of years ago, but yeah, and then again, just having other admins and moderators that I know and trust, help, with the job of, managing a pretty active group,
Yeah.
makes the, much easier lift.
Yeah, that's great. And then you also do some live events locally as well, right?
Yeah, so again, just as a, kind of a springboard off of our Facebook group, we had people start asking like, hey, what about, we've got some networking get-togethers. What about some other events? And so, a few years ago, we started, we do a boot camp, or we do a jumpstart event every January, and then we do a boot camp. So the purpose of those are, they're not really money makers per se. They help fill our private mentor group, and lead to a lot of really great partnerships and deals. And, it's amazing, over the years doing that, like, I'll just continue to partner with people, multiple deals, and it's been amazing. But so for instance, our jumps, I always just do 1 day events, keep it clean and simple. We do, it's a full packed day. I've got sponsors and paying for the lunch and paying for coffees and stuff like that. We do a happy hour afterwards. And yeah, we try to deliver as much value as we can. I mean, it's really a high level overview of the topics that we want to cover for, and so we're looking at, how to identify properties, how to analyze properties, the ABCs of renovating. And then we do some boot camps. Again, we've done a few of those where it's been uh, more fix and flip focused, uh, and and some other events. I've had people come out, friends of mine come out, and we've done live events on a one-off, throughout the year. I just see the value of, having butts in seats, a captive audience. And again, if I can deliver some value that's going to help somebody, and if I can put 85 people in a room and two of them want to partner with me after the day's over, that's a win for me.
Yeah, I think getting people to commit to something like that it says a lot because you're basically, and I'm sure you do this up front. You're like, look, get clear all your distractions. Like, let's just focus on this today because other things, like there's a place for meetups and Facebook groups. Facebook groups, people are just scrolling them during the day and they're distracted, right? And meetup groups, they think they're going to make it and they miss it, and they might stop by every once in a while, but life gets in the way. But when you do a 1 day event or a 3 day event or something like that, like people are kind of dedicating, like, hey, I'm going to kind of really focus today, and it allows you to take people kind of deeper. And in fact, a lot of those people, I'm sure that most of the people that come to your live events are in your Facebook group and have been to your meetup group, which is more like a mixer, right?
All
And
of
then
them.
that's kind of like the graduation is to come. Let's come spend some time together now, right?
Yeah. So I'm just laying stones in the path, is how I've heard it
Yeah.
put. I'm creating, little baby steps for people to, dive into real estate investing and to be part of a community and to know, trust, and like me. Then I'll put another stone out in front of them, another stone. And it's, I don't know, it's not rocket science. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I can do simple things like that. And
Yeah.
these simple things pay off. It takes time. I mean, it takes years.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not going to build. I tried to force build a group, through, Facebook ads. And like I said, I've built some other Facebook groups, and, there's just no, in my opinion, there's no substitute for, a slow growth, organic, like high value group. I mean, I've done the paid ads and slam it and promo cycle them and, hit them from every angle. And it's very expensive and it's not as effective at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, yeah. So what is all this? Obviously, you're helping a lot of people in your market, and then one of your goals is to find ways to collaborate with people and kind of win from a business side too. So talk about like the types of opportunities this creates, and maybe what some of the what a typical collaboration looks like.
So I first started, that idea is like, well, I'm happy to partner on fix and flips with people. You bring the deal, I'll flip it. We'll flip it together. I'll show you the ropes. Finding the deal is always the hard part. The lining up contractor. I mean, after you've done it, lining up contractors and fixing a house is the easy part. It's always finding a good deal. So that was simply my message. You bring me the house, I'll show you the game. And we started doing that, and we still do that to this day. But it's led to other partnerships. I've partnered with people on commercial deals. We've started lending. People know, like, and trust me, and we're able to partner up. I mean, I'll lend on the deal. It's there's no there's no shortage of creative ways to partner with somebody. Probably the easiest you know foothold into it is fix and flip. Partner on a fix and flip. And so once you establish that, you can get much more creative, and partner on storage unit deals like I just did, and on and on and on. Commercial
Yeah.
deals, things like that. So it's kind of this stair step evolution. I mean, I look at it like I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I started, and I knew I could buy a crappy house, fix it up, but then you just quickly realize, like, I don't want to be doing that forever. I mean, I want to grow as a business owner and entrepreneur, and so now progressing into bigger deals and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I do anyway.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing some insights with us today.
Yeah, oh, of
Yeah.
course, I love it.
If folks want to connect with you or kind of learn more about what you've got going on, find a way to work together, something like that, where should they go?
Best place probably it's jasonlavender.ai, or you can find me on Facebook. I mean, that's where I'm at. Jason Lavender in Wichita, Kansas on Facebook. Hit me up. Like I said, I'm a open book. I love helping people. I love connecting. If anybody knows anything going on in South Central Kansas, let me know.
You're the man, right?
Trying to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good stuff. Thanks again for sharing today.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, everybody, there's a lot of power in kind of building your network and collaborating and ultimately taking that offline to meet people for real. Because I think there is this trust recession, and there are people ultimately want to work with people, right? And so the more they can get to know you and your market, if you create that opportunity for them, I like to say that karma is alive and well. So the more you can help people, that will come back around. It might not be tomorrow, but down the road at some point there'll be opportunities. People say, when people say they're lucky, and I kind of say you make your own luck. That's how you make your own luck, is by impacting a lot of people, improving the lives of them, and opportunities will, start to, quote, fall in your lap, right? So appreciate you guys for joining us today. Go check out and learn more about Jason, and we'll see you guys on the next show. Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.